Welcome everybody to the live Eqafe Google Hangout. Tonight we will be discussing the Eqafe Reptilians interview series. The interview is called "Is What We Are Seeing Real?" Today I have two guests with me. One from, we have Carrie here from the U.S. Carrie, thanks for being here.
Hi, thank you for having me. Hi, everyone.
And we have Clive. He's having some technical issues, so he's from South Africa. Clive, can you respond? Are you all set?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
How are you?
Great.
Good. Hi, Carrie.
Hi, Clive.
Welcome. Okay, so let me just first speak a little bit about the Eqafe site. This site is a site that explores many different topics and subjects of the human experience. It goes into relationships and sex and parenting, many different topics, relationships, human consciousness, the mind, human history. So this site is basically a library of interviews on these many different subjects, and we're taking one interview out of thousands of interviews that have been done already and discussing basically just a piece of the whole educational library that is on this site, Eqafe. So I suggest once we're done with the recording, to check out the Eqafe site and poke around and see. You can do a search and just anything you're interested in, just check out this site because it's here for everybody. It's available. So this is why we're doing these interviews, just to kind of showcase what this site is about and what the topics are about. So for this interview, let me get the right name. Hold on. Is What You See Real? Carrie, why don't you just share a little bit about what this interview is about?
Okay. This interview starts off by describing how we see things through our minds. So we look around in our environment and we see something like the chair that we're sitting on. We don't necessarily recognize it as a physical thing. We just see it there. Well, a memory might come up of a time that we sat on the chair with a friend and, had a conversation or whatever. Or we might have thoughts about the chair. Like for me, my couch, my cats have sunk their claws into it. So every time I see the chair, I'm like, geez, that's an eyesore. That's just awful. Where the difference is, instead of looking at it through my mind, is instead, when I'm sitting on the chair, is being aware of my butt, sitting on the chair and how that physically feels. And then from there, going beyond that to not just the chair or the couch, to the floor, to my feet on the floor and feeling the floor underneath my feet. And, is it cold? Is it hard? And then, beyond that. And for me, what I saw in this specifically is the potential. Is if we just take some time and just practice that physical communication, we're going to get better and better at it. Because we weren't really taught to communicate or to be with things in our environment in this way. We were actually taught to, associate and make relationships in regards to memories and thoughts and reactions and emotions. And so we have to teach ourselves to be here and to be physical with the things in our environment, and eventually we can actually move it outward. And that's what I saw.
Cool. Right, and Clive, do you have any perspective on what you got out of this interview or what this interview was about?
For me, it's interesting the way people see the world and what influences them to see it in the way that they do. And I found that the interview covered many, many dimensions on the potential ways that people can see the world and the influences behind that, with like programming of the mind, and whether you're looking at your world through your programs or whether you actually looking at your world as present in the present moment. So yeah, that's basically what I got out of it. It also showed me when working with people in the past, with working with art specifically, how people were seeing the world, and teaching art, I could see them seeing the world in many different ways. But what I found with teaching the art was I needed to bring them to locale, bring them to the present moment, in order for them to see it in perhaps the way I do, because I found that they were moving forward and projecting too much. So we needed to bring them down and bring them into the present moment, and then show them the forms and the shapes that they were completely unaware of in their world.
Right. Cool. Yeah, and that goes with within this interview how he speaks about how the mind, like basically how we see things through the mind, and then how we see things through this real-time present view of what we are seeing. So can you, Carrie, just describe a little bit about how we're seeing through our minds? Like, what does that mean? What does that look like? And can you give an example of your life, how you kind of got in such a mind state that you didn't really even realize what you were doing or how you were acting, and someone had to say to you, you know, Carrie, you're acting this way, and you're like, no, I'm not. But then eventually it came through that you were acting in that state.
Yeah. When I was running a business, it's the most interesting thing. People would come up to me, "Are you okay? You know, you look a little stressed." Or I would get these gifts for Christmas, these like activities that were supposed to, you know, relieve stress. I'm like, why are people giving me these presents? I'm not that stressed. And everybody in my environment was, you know, pretty much telling me, hey, you need to settle down. And I didn't even realize it, and it actually took quite a while for me to get out of my head about it and to actually pay attention and to focus on the stress and to relax. But if it hadn't been for the people in my environment telling me, I'm not sure that I would have realized it as soon as I did. So that was quite cool.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. And there's a feedback in someone's. Anyways, the what I've experienced with this point, like this actually happened recently, where I was doing computer work and I was also cooking at the same time. And so I had a timer on, and the timer, either I didn't push the button or something, so it didn't go off. And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I have 5 minutes, I have 5 minutes, I have 5 minutes. And eventually it got to a point where I started smelling this burning sensation, or this burning smell, and I obviously realized that the food that I was cooking was burning. So, you know, if you are in your mind, like, thinking that you're, you know, if you're in your mind kind of just perceiving yourself through your mind, then the reality has to eventually show, you're going to face a consequence in your reality where it's going to show you, you know, you're not here, you're not present, you're not in reality. And obviously it could have, hopefully it doesn't get to a point where it's damaging, like the house burns down or something, but Clive, have you had any experience with this?
Many experiences with that. Where you can go into such a stressful mode that you go so fast within yourself, and all your thoughts are scattered so badly that you're not present, and you cannot be present. So the consequences for me would go into anxiety, and I would be feared, full of fear, by the speed at which the energy field in my body was moving. It was so charged, and for so many years I would go through ups and downs with that. But I have also left food on the stove and burnt it many times. So I thought it was a scatterbrain, but at this point one understands that it's locale. You need to slow down and be present in the moment. And I think that's vitally important. One of the most important lessons of process is that we slow down and be present so that we can give our full potential.
Definitely. And that full potential is only reached within the present moment, within slowing down and within like a breath awareness. And let's just share a little bit about the destiny process and how we've used these tools of writing and forgiveness and speaking forgiveness aloud and the breath awareness. How has this destiny process supported you, Carrie, within this process of slowing down and becoming more present in your environment, in your reality?
Well, something I've realized recently in my process is that I can make a decision. In a moment. So a situation comes up, and if I stay in my mind, then I'm going to process something completely differently and do something completely different, most likely, if I don't go to the writing and the self-forgiveness. So if I were to stay in my mind about it, I'm going to eventually come up with something that's going to make me act or do or be a certain way that's going to get me nowhere or leads to self-sabotage or puts me in the same patterns. But at the same time, I know that I can stop what I'm doing, I can go to the writing, I can go to the self-forgiveness, and I can actually change my previous pattern. I can actually not respond to what's coming up in my mind and kind of tempting me to continue to be in that certain way. Also, what's supportive is saying self-forgiveness in the moment. That you see yourself going into your thoughts and your mind and your memories and all of the stuff coming up in your head, and it's looking so overwhelming. You can say, you don't even have to say it out loud, you can actually sound it inside yourself with the self-forgiveness, and in that moment you can change the direction that you're going to take and be the directive principle.
Right. Another tool that is supportive and that supports with becoming seeing reality in this present moment is the consistency within these tools, using the tools every day. Every time you see a pattern come up where you're seeing your thoughts race and go into all sorts of directions, or you become extremely emotional, that you bring that point to yourself and you see within what occurred, how can you take responsibility for the issue that came up that caused you to react or that caused you to have your thoughts race. What is it within that situation that you can change about yourself to bring a better outcome into the next moment, so you can change yourself. Basically, what is it that you need to do to change yourself to become more present? And these tools, using these tools consistently over time, you start to integrate the corrections that you've created for yourself through the writing, through the tools. And that supports with grounding yourself within your reality, because when you get to that moment again, you're going to know exactly what you need to do, because you've kind of scripted it in now. You've changed your way of acting, so now you know how to change and how to behave differently the next moment. So as you keep practicing that, that is what supports you to be grounded, to be more present within yourself. Clive, how has the tool supported you within this point?
I found the in the moment self-forgiveness one of my best tools. I do that every day, and the writing was something that gave me the ability to see the characters and understand how they play games. And by understanding the characters, I could then get to know them even better. I could take qualities that I liked of theirs and delete the rest. I became more and more familiar with them. So if you're working with them every day, and they do come up every single day, you realize how little of yourself is being seen by the world. So my thing was that was me living without the directive principle. So as Carrie said, you've got a choice on how you want to be present, on how much of yourself you're going to give to that moment. And these characters come in so quickly, and they're such a part of us that we become unaware that they're lurking. And the directive principle is for me, as I've learned through my self-forgiveness and my commitment statements, that in the moment I can choose what I want to express, and I choose to express creativity and self-expression from my directive principle. So that is the basis of myself. So with all of the tools, the self-forgiveness, the breathing, the stabilizing, vitally important, because it's us back into the physical. And this is what I think process is all about, especially now that we're moving into the quantum parts of process, that now the physical is vitally important, and there is where we are present. It's not in the memories, because in the memories we are following the patterns we did before. If we're looking at our life through the memories, and we are creating and being a living expression of our memories, then that's what we're going to carry on living. We're going to see our world through those memories. So we're not seeing the world as we should when we've slowed down and had a look and assessed, what is this reality that I'm creating, and who is responsible for creating it? I must accept and allow that I'm allowing the character to do it for me. So those are the things that I've learned from process.
Awesome, cool. And you brought up a point about the memories, and also within this interview he spoke about memories and how the mind uses memories to manipulate, so to speak, our view of reality. How memories are brought into, like, you're looking out and like Carrie said in the beginning, she was looking at a couch, and what came up was the memory of her cat scratching it, and how, it's not necessarily the most beautiful thing to look at. But in reality, it's a chair there that's been used by, people, and cats have been on it and things like that. And the point is not to react to that, but to realize that it's a chair, and it's here, equal to how you're here. So it's kind of, if you work with the memories and, well, let me say, how have you guys worked with memories? Like, what do you do with memories to substantiate yourself within it and change yourself? Like, how do we work with memories in the Destiny process?
Carrie or myself?
Yeah, Carrie, go for it.
Okay. I'll use an example from recently with me, actually, really recently. I have been I've been working on a house that I'm okay. My husband and I, we have a family home, and we're making some changes to it to make it more comfortable, more organized, more livable. And I've actually been putting a lot of time into this, and have been here a lot, and in sort of a way, you know, stuck in the house working on this. And after a couple of weeks, I noticed that I was getting very antsy about this, and I went into my head about it, and you know, I started. Of course, you know, the first thing you do when you go into your head about it is you find someone else to blame. So I'm going, you know, to my husband, blaming him. You know, he's not doing this. He's not helping me out. You know, this whole family thing is keeping me down. I can't go out. I can't have fun with my friends. I mean, and you know, I had a moment where I'm like, okay, why am I so frustrated over this? And it was a moment, and what came up for me was a memory. When I was a child, I would be confined to my bedroom for days, weeks, months. I mean, my parents even said, you know, I was restricted for years. I mean, it seemed like my whole childhood I was, you know, confined to my bedroom or to the house, and I was only allowed out to do sports or to do housework. I couldn't go out with my friends. I couldn't go do things like that, and obviously there's some powerlessness in this, which leads to a lot of anger. And in my mind, I was like, you know what? I don't understand. You know, when I was a kid, I couldn't do anything, and now I'm an adult and I still can't do anything. This isn't fair. But I knew that I had what I needed to work with. I had the memories. I had my reactions. I had my thoughts about it. I had my reasons, my justifications, and my beliefs that this should be fair. I had it all right there. And I knew that I could go write it out or, you know, start the self-forgiveness process. But the thing is that I saw that I was completely justified in being frustrated and upset about it. So in that moment, I had that decision to either act it out or to do the self-forgiveness and, you know, to take the memories that I worked with and actually dig it up. So, I mean, that's how, you know, we can use the memories to, so that they don't influence us or don't. So when they do come up, we can say, you know, I've walked that memory. I see how it's creating, you know, where I am right now, but it doesn't necessarily have to influence me anymore. You know, I can create more of a balance in my life. I can, you know, work on the house, but I can also take time out for my friends. So it's, memories are something to work with, to assist you to get from one point to another where the change is.
Cool. Right. Thanks for sharing that. Also, within memory, Can you guys mute yourself because there is a kickback? If you don't mind. Do you mind muting yourself?
Oh.
Oh.
Just because there's a kickback when I speak. Thanks. So within memories, Carrie, you were speaking about how you had the choice to either continue in the justification and the belief within yourself that you are correct within why this isn't fair. And everything within your mind was showing you how you're right within this. It's, you know, everything is playing out where, yes, it's not a fair situation. And in a recent interview in the Reptilian series, he's speaking about responsibility. Marduk is now in the portal speaking, and he's speaking about how, regardless of the fact that if you are present within a situation and everything is in a way looking like you're not to blame, you're not at fault, it's not your fault. Within that scenario, you either, if you're taking offense to it or you're reacting to that point, you are responsible because you either didn't respond in the moment to change that situation, or you did something within that moment to create the situation. So it's really a point of what I'm trying to say is that you have to take full responsibility for everything in our lives, for each thing that has occurred, for all our memories, and within those memories that do come up, to put yourself in that situation and find the responsibility that is needed to be taken to change that situation to be best for all. So it's very comprehensive, this Destiny Hour process, because we're talking about taking absolute responsibility for ourselves and what we have accepted and allowed, not only for, you know, this life, but our lives and our existence as a whole. So it's quite a process, and there's levels. You know, there's beginner levels for the basic concepts that we're talking about here. This interview is more a kind of like an advanced concept type interview because they're talking about deep levels of the physical and the mind. So let's discuss about the support Anu gave in this interview about the quantum seeing, the difference between the mind seeing and the real-time quantum seeing. Clav, you want to share? Clive, you're on mute as well.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, all set.
Okay. So the look is to look through the programs and the patterns, also the most importantly the characters, and observing the world through them. And whatever memories are stored in association with those characters, patterns, designs, it's all linked. So you're gonna be looking at the world through either a projection of yourself from a character, or you're going to be looking at the world through a memory from the past, which is also influencing how you look at the world within your projection of yourself. So that looking at the world as present, to me, would be looking at the world as one and equal with the directive principle. This is not looking through the programs, designs of the mind. This is making a choice to become aware of the movements within the physical body as to what's going on. Is this a program? Is this a character? If I'm going to be going into justification of it, or blame, or anything like that, I know that I'm dealing with a character. So I'm not one and equal in that moment with the director principal. There I can make a choice, I can breathe, I can settle myself down and look at the world from the director principle, and through that assess and make my choices in the solutions that I find while perhaps a memory comes up. It might be in relation to what I am dealing with in that moment. There is a tool to work with to see exactly what is going on. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you. Great. Carrie, do you have anything to share?
What was the question again?
What, in terms of the end of this interview, Anu speaks about the quantum seeing, and I was just sharing, or can you share a little bit about what's the difference between the mind seeing and this real-time, present quantum seeing that Anu was speaking about? You went over it a little bit in the beginning about the chair, like sitting in the chair.
Another thing is, have you ever listened to some of the animal interviews on Eqafe?
Yes.
Yeah. In particular, what came up for me was the mouse interviews and how they have just this ball, being in the house and being, like with the wood and chewing at it, and they have like this really cool relationship with it where they actually can see and have an understanding of the history from the moment the tree was born to it becoming lumber to it being constructed into a house. They just have a ball getting to know everything. And to me, I see that as that's our potential. If we were to let go of everything that we have defined as being fun or a good time, everything that's, it has been our self-interest, I'm seeing that there's unknown territory there for us to explore and get to know everything around. I mean, that sounds like a blast to me.
Me too. Yeah, so there is, within this process that we're walking, there is definitely gifts that are here for us to explore and develop within ourselves when we get to a point where we are physical, we are here. We're like the animals and the trees. They're alive, they're here. They're not emotional, they're not moving within emotion, they're moving within physical reality. And like Carrie said, the animals share their perspectives through series on the Eqafe site that you can listen to about different like all the animals that obviously are here on the earth. They all have different perspectives, different ways they see things, and the potential, that is really showing the potential of who we are as human beings, equal in one because we are here, equal in one to this physical reality. We just have to move through our minds to be able to get into the physical, to be able to get into this reality, the physical reality. And we are life, but we are having to walk this process to get equal in one to align with this physical reality so we can see quantum time. We can see, interconnect and communicate with the animals because that's what they do. They can communicate with the flowers, they can communicate with bugs, they can communicate with the walls, they can communicate with, they can switch bodies and stuff. So there's so much potential here for us. And yeah, this interview was a cool perspective on the mind seeing and the quantum seeing. So we're pretty far into our interview, our hangout. Clive or Carrie, do you have anything else to share?
The last question, I didn't get the quantum seeing bit. It seemed to fade out on that part of the question, but that part of the interview also reminded me of the ways that you can be seeing outside of your body without using your eyes, your sensory system. You sort of explode yourself and your beingness as far as you can, and at some point you're able to read and feel all the objects around you in measurements and geometric shapes and forms that you can feel it. They're alive, and it's almost it vibrates, and it's got a rhythm to it, like a heartbeat to it. And then one can implode that as information gathering into your beingness. And quantum seeing like that, to me, reminded me, silly, of how Yoda taught Luke how to be a Jedi, and that's part of his teaching.
Yeah. So what you're discussing about, and what we've kind of been discussing here, is about our awareness, like the physical awareness, the beingness that is within us, and that's kind of what, when we say quantum seeing, we're talking about our being, our inner awareness, seeing these things and expanding into the environment that we're sitting in. And one of the practices he said was to like sit in a chair and first kind of move your awareness throughout your body, move it down to your fingers and down to your toes, and then start to expand your awareness into the chair. You can kind of connect with the chair, and to connect with your beingness. This is what the destiny process is about: connecting to your beingness, becoming aware of your inner world, your inner reality, who you are, and your thoughts. And so this is all connecting the Destiny Eye process and Eqafe. I'm going to wrap this Hangout up. It's 40 minutes in, and anyone else have anything to share before we leave? All set? Okay.
All set.
Awesome. Thanks, Clive and Carrie, for being here. I really appreciate it.
Wonderful to meet you, ladies. Thank you very much.
Nice meeting you, Clive. Thanks, Carrie. Okay. Thanks, everybody, for watching, and see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.